So then, oh, there we go.
Hey, welcome everybody. This is our special weekly Master Brews, and we have a very special guest. Very happy to have Andrew on. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So if people are not familiar, Andrew is in charge of the Comedy 3 project, which we're very excited to talk about. But before we go into that, maybe tell a bit about yourself and how you ended up into this space.
Yeah, so I have a diverse history. I used to be a professional gambler for many years, playing both poker, Texas Hold'em, and as well as being a professional sports bettor. And then I've been in the SaaS space for 12 years. I helped to create really a startup company inside of HP that was a top security provider for enterprise companies around the world, like top 50 companies on Forbes, and ran one of the largest security solutions. We had about 300 staff doing pen testing, as well as very advanced technology. Uh, so probably in my tenure there, secured the largest number of assets in the entire world of any organization. Uh, I did that for many years. And then when I left there, I was really struck by my complete lack of ownership of the division I'd helped to create because it was a startup company like inside of HP. So everything that we did and built wasn't owned by the people I worked with. It was owned by faceless executives who I'd never met and investors who had no idea of what we were doing. Complete disconnection between who owned it and who did any kind of work or who was involved.
So
Uh,
not a typical startup where you're already incentivized with ownership of the company with shares and private equity and all that stuff. You're a startup working like a startup, but still not reaping any of the rewards of a startup.
That's exactly right. And so when I left there, I was like, you know what? I'm never doing that again. It was a good experience. It was great to build this entity out of kind of nothing, right? I got to build a startup kind of without having to worry about financing. Uh, but then it was okay. I'm never going to work anywhere where I'm not an owner, right? I'm never going to do that again because I don't want to go build something else that's truly awesome that changes the world in some way and not have some share in it. So then the next obvious step was to be involved in a startup company. So I joined with my co-founders. We created this startup company, uh, and then to just fast forward to a piece of now before I tell maybe more of the whole story. Uh, when we discovered Web 3.0, I realized that my dissatisfaction with ownership went far deeper and beyond just the fact that I didn't, walk away with millions of dollars from building this thing. It actually extended to everybody else I worked with. It extended to my clients. We had one client who's I'll use their name S, who is this incredible advocate for us, and they helped our business like 25% just by themselves. Right? He did it out of the goodness of his heart because he liked what we were doing. He was friends, like we'd get together and we'd hang out, and he was just incredibly helpful to the business. It didn't benefit him at all directly, right? The other people who worked there, like I hired 300 people, they didn't benefit at all. And when we found Web3, I realized, okay, actually, Web3 allows for ownership in a lot more directions. It allows it to be a lot easier for more people to own, for customers to own, for employees to own. And actually, my dissatisfaction that really, when I left HP and started a startup company, I was like, well, you know what? I want to be an owner. But in my heart, it wasn't that I want to be an owner. It was that ownership models of Web 2.0 are just really broken all around. And that the Web 3.0, that is one of the most fundamental differences. And I didn't learn that until after Web 3.0. Like I didn't come to Web 3.0 to solve that problem. I was feeling that and was pained by that. And then Web 3.0 taught me, okay, wait, there's a solution for that thing. And now you can understand yourself better because that was a lot of the pain I had when I left HP.
Yeah, no, I think that kind of resonates with a lot of people. You know, they come in, they're attracted by kind of, all the hype and excitement of it. But once they start digging deep into it, they're like, wow, there's a really large amount of utility that a lot of people don't even talk about. And ownership is such a big one. And, that's why everyone in this community is just waiting for a lot of Web2 companies to identify that. And it requires that special person to be like wanting to give up ownership, right? That's not an easy thing to do. When you're used to doing things a certain way and obviously board of directors and private investors, all that stuff kind of kind of clouds things a bit. But understanding that the community is clamoring for that ownership, eventually that change has to happen.
Well, if you you show me somebody who has a board of investors, right? I'll show you a company that probably really doesn't like their board of investors. That their board is a pain in their ass, right? It's accountability that can be constructive in some ways. It stops people, kind of corporate rug pulling, unless you're, Elizabeth Holmes. So it creates a lot more accountability. So there is a good side to that. But there's a really, really bad side in both how distracting it is and how it doesn't feel right. Whereas you show me a good Web3 company, they're going to cherish their community. They're going to love their shareholders. So I do think that when you make that transition, right, when somebody can mentally, like you said, like it's hard to give up ownership. In a way, it's hard to give up ownership because it's hard for a Web2 brain to understand the transition. But I actually think that after the transition, it feels better all around. I can tell you that I've not had to deal with our board at all in the 6 years of Opera Event, and I didn't have to deal with upper echelon executives in HP for most of my time there. But both of my bosses who did those things, it drove them crazy, and it took 30 or 40% of their time just to manage a couple of people's expectations, right, and their perception. So it is an arduous process to go do that. As I think from your Web 2.0 world as well, that that accountability can be constructive because it stops people from running off of money, but it also just takes a lot of energy and a lot of time. Whereas when you're investing energy into your community and your community are your owners, I think it has a very different kind of result.
Well, it ends up trying to make you do an impossible juggling act, right? Because the board has expectations. You want to continue to build and provide value, what got you there in the first place, but now you have all these ridiculous pressure and deadlines and stuff that you have to kind of fulfill where you didn't have that before. Before you were kind of, all right, I can take my time. I'm going to do this right. I'm going to make this successful. Now that we're successful, but it comes with the whole bag of issues that, you kind of don't really expect. I think the balancing act with, a traditional board is a lot more difficult. I don't know if it's any easier with Web3 because communities, as you know, can put a lot of pressure on you to deliver results in a timely manner. And that's another juggling act, right? You want to deliver, you want to build, but you want to do it right. Because if you do it wrong, especially in this space, one wrong, line of code can take down a whole project. And we saw that already when that other project has $35 million locked up because they had, some bad code. So it's really tough juggling, but you're right. I think it's more fulfilling when you're doing it for a community side of investors versus a board of investors, because most of the time, a board of investors, it's just, the money, does it really matter to them? Probably not. Whereas if you have a community, that they're putting their time and effort into it, because without the community supporting you, you're not going to be successful. And you need their time and their investment and their feedback and them wanting to participate to make a project successful. So that kind of drives you to work harder. I know it does for me in my experience, but the difference is definitely night and day.
Yeah, one feels like pulling and one feels like pushing, right? That's
a perfect example, yeah, for sure.
Yep. Well, if we go back to kind of like what it's been like for me, Web 2.0 coming into Web 3.0, part of it is having found our people, because I've lived in this world of community building and caring about communities and for the last 6 years. And I've been dealing with a lot of companies that just, they kind of don't get it. And so all of a sudden, like walking into a bright lit room that is a party, right? It's like having been wandering around at night, and then having walked into a brightly lit party, right? That's part of the experience, but that's because we were in community building and then we walked in and we had this community building. The other side of it is like the upside down from Stranger Things, where every rule is inverted. and every logical notion from before is reversed. Because even though the world of Web3 embraces community and has superior ownership models, there are a lot of really my Web 2.0 says a lot of illogical things that are going on. Right now there is basically a buy NFTs and flip them to earn money, which is a form of playing the stock market, as a form of gambling. And there is an entire community and then sub expectations based on that current model. And that's not the future of Web 3.0. That's the temporary state. So on one hand, we're here trying to play inside of the temporary state, the game that is right in front of us. And I'm okay with that. Like, you know what? It's a game. We'll play the game that's right in front of us. But on the other hand, let's not lose sight of where things are going, right? Where things are going are, this will be a systematic change to technology and ownership that will change, all of currency, all of valuation. It'll sweep through the entire world. It'll change everything in 10 years. Like, I believe that. But the notion of I'm buying an NFT so that I can, flip it and make a bunch of great money, that is a very point in time, like right now. And then even smaller than that is like the whitelist meta right now. It's this tiny little thing. It's going to be gone in months, right? Like, you know what? Like we might just destroy this whitelist meta right now and just make it so much easier for everybody. And like, this little thing is gone. This thing hasn't been here for very long. NFTs have only been around for this time, right? And then the current meta has been around for this time. And then this is the whitelist meta. What crypto is going to be, it's going to be this sea change across so many different elements of our life and technology. And so the fact that we're in here sort of playing the temporary game is sometimes like being in the upside down world. And we have some really great advisors who are helping us to make sure we're, doing things in the right way to make sure we don't do any missteps. But there are expectations of like, don't do anything that will FUD. Don't do anything that skews perception this way, right? Whereas like in a conventional Web 2.0 mindset, it's like, what are your business fundamentals, right? Like the number of times that somebody has asked me, and I've done, a lot of different conversations, and particularly now, I'm literally going through our business model, our labs, our software. The number of times someone has said to me, what is your SaaS MRR? Never. Right? It's question one in Web 2.0, right? If I go and get looked at in any way whatsoever, what's your SaaS MRR? Like not a single person. And I've talked to really great investors in the space. And, I'm having conversations about the financial viability of this structure that we created that we're selling. And not a single person has said that. Actually, I take that back. There is one guy, he is from Turkey. His name is Permissionless. And he keeps asking me questions about the financial models. And he's like he's a Web 3 guy asking a lot of these old world questions. He's never literally said, what's your MRR? But I think he knows what it is because he's asked me questions that are adjacent to that. And that's the number one question that old world, you go to a VC, you go to venture debt, you go to, a bank, and you're like, hey guys, here's our business. They're going to say, great. What's your MRR? Full stop. That's the only question. Web3, what's your MRR? Web3 is how many followers do you have? Right? how big is your Discord? I was meeting with only maybe like 4 weeks ago. I was meeting with somebody who was marketing for one of the launch platforms. And I sat down with her at this house that we had met at this gathering event. And I'm like, hey, look, here's our company. Here's what we do. We're going to be launching an NFT, pretty soon. Our early expectation is this should go well. We'll sell out. That's not really our concern. We're going to, make sure that we sell out this thing and it'll help set up the IDO. I've met with one of your colleagues, they were super blown away by what we're doing. And I want to line up a time for when we're going to launch in your Launchpad. And she goes, what are your socials? And I said, well, we haven't really started marketing it from that standpoint yet. Here's our customer list, right? And I give her bona fides that for any Web 2 company would have been like, you guys are like the rock stars.
Yeah.
And she gives me a look like I just gave her sour milk. And she's like, you're not anywhere near being able to launch anything. You know, come back and talk to me again in 2 months and we'll see. And I'm like, hey, listen, like, one of your colleagues evaluated what we're doing. He gave it a giant thumbs up. Like, you understand that we have 3 top tier clients in this space and lots of other clients. Like, yeah, we don't have socials yet. We haven't been trying to have socials. Like, we're a software platform that gets white labeled to other people. Like, we don't need to go and build our own brand, other than the fact that we're now doing this play with these NFTs. And she gives me this sour look, and I'm like, this girl, like, I mean, she knows the space, but she is clueless to the fact that there is something that doesn't look and smell exactly like what everything else is. She couldn't see it at all, right? You fast forward a couple weeks, right? My crypto advisors, who are awesome, are very worried because we haven't started some of the active marketing, and they're like, oh man, this is gonna be a tall uphill climb. Solana's really like not doing that well. It's really hard to launch a big collection. How do you feel about shrinking the collection down to 5,000? First of all, I'm like, yeah, that's fine. Like, we're not doing this for the money. We're doing this to engage users. That means we'll have half as many advocates, but that's fine because there's things we can do afterwards to increase the number of advocates. So that's fine. If that's going to help to make sure we sell out, really what we care about is, driving a huge secondary value and leading up to our IDO. We do care about number of people, but we can come back and we can solve that later. It doesn't matter to us. We can have our size of collection if that's going to help. But hey, we haven't had our meetings yet. And I think you guys are underestimating how well this is going to go. And they went, no, you don't understand. You've never launched a project before. Like, you can't say that. And I'm like, okay, I mean, but like, I've met with a lot of people. We have people using our software. I'm demoing my software. Like, we're onboarding customers. I know what the software does. I can tell you about the sandbox results. Like, so I know a lot about people, leaders in this space, response to this. And all we need is 10 meetings. And those 10 meetings, and everyone will know what we do, and it'll be good. And they're like, no, that's not the way it works. Like, it's way more than that. Like, you're oversimplifying it. Like, leave it to us. We're the marketing experts, and they've helped a lot. But we were into about 6 conversations. The combination of the first 6 conversations and our technology, and the world just exploded. And I'm not sure something else has grown as fast as what we've grown, because what we're doing at its core matters. It's already built. We have all the fundamentals. People are seeing the difference, even though not all people are asking the exact questions. And then it was just like an absolute explosion. An explosion that I was not surprised by, maybe alone, because I know I went to, Decentral and visited 30 booths and showed people what our software did. And I saw the response it got. We're onboarding customers, as fast as we can handle them. So like, I know the response is there. I know the need is there. I know we have the right solution. It was just an issue of getting the word out. And that is so different than Web 2, right? In this case, it's like, okay, we actually had to do it this way. We had to come and play via social media, via word of mouth. Like, actually going and talking to companies, big companies, was a lot slower. And so I'd say we wasted 3 months working with Sandbox and Big Time and YGG, because we were still stuck in the Web 2.0 mindset of let's go find big customers who love what we do and onboard them, and then charge them money for that. Well, you know what? Like, this upside down world, we shouldn't have been thinking that. If we literally were like, we need money and we need to go raise money right now with NFTs, and we need to go create awareness via community in Discord, like, we'd be 3 months further ahead because we'd have done this 3 months ago. But we were still thinking Web 2.0. We were still like, let's go get customers. Let's be invisible. We don't need to have our own brand because it's all about our customers. And we were wrong, because that was just Web 2.0 mindset.
So let's talk about that. So now that you've gotten your project, your socials, you have your marketing team, everything is going extremely well. What's next? What is the drop date? What price are we looking at? What's the collection size? What are the details around the project coming up?
Yeah. So the first project is the Mad Scientists, and the Mad Scientists are a 5001 collection, amazing art, and their main utility is the fact that we're going to give 10% of our token drop later in the year to the Mad Scientist holders. So those who look at our company and say, wait, these people are doing some awesome stuff, wait, what is that token going to mean later in the year? And as I go through with people like, hey, here's all the uses for the token later, people go, okay, that actually sounds pretty awesome. That's better than, sand for the sandbox. It matters more in the ecosystem in general. So this is likely to go really well for that. So that has driven a lot of interest in the mad scientists. Now we're going to add a lot more utility to the mad scientists. I generally sort of downplay that because those aren't here yet. And a lot of companies, are launching based on futures of what they're going to build. But we already have substantial things. We don't need to, rest our launch upon futures. There are futures of what we're going to build that's going to add to the mad scientists. Like there's a bunch of really cool shit that we're going to build pretty fast that will add in as utility to the mad scientists. But for starters, it's a utility that grants you a token so that you can, take part in our success, and that we can turn those people into advocates. That's for the mad scientist. The labs are more of a true financial instrument. And we initially built the lab collection for our customers. And even though we built it in a way that non-customers and investors would want to buy it, we did not think the interest would be as high as it was. But what's happened also is that because people can't get more of the mad scientists, they're looking for other ways to invest in our company. And it's another way to do that. So, your company was actually our very first buyer of a lab. And, we deeply appreciate that confidence. And I hope you've already sort of reaped a bunch of benefits just from the sort of social contract, right, of having the lab, which is on top of the financial instruments, which is, you either get services that are very valuable towards community building through technology, or in your case, a bunch of the other services that you've used in the past, or you can rent it and you're like, you know what, we just need some more capital. You can rent it to somebody else and then just collect, $5,000 a month. So having built this instrument of these labs, it's meant to give people this Disney Plus model of ownership. Did we talk about Disney Plus ownership here? Or that was previous to the call, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, we didn't touch about that yet.
Okay, all right. The idea that someone can own something in perpetuity, it front loads the cost of it, but it has much greater value to the owner in the long run, and they become an investor in what that thing is. So someone can front load the cost of working with our software by buying a lab, but now they own something that is a part of our company, and in the long run, it's a much better financial for them. I'm on camera, by the way.
Hi.
Not really on camera. You want to say hi?
Who's this?
Oh, this is Adam from MasterBrews.
Hi.
Hi, Adam from MasterBrews.
Yep, they have three awesome games coming out. Yep.
Great. Yep. You guys are in good business. Good things happening.
Yeah. Yeah. Good time to be in play to earn games. Yep. Okay, so where were we? So we're talking about the labs. So we designed this lab model for customers so they could invest, own a piece of something, have perpetual service. And then we also made it so, hey, investors can come along and they could buy a lab and they could rent it to somebody else and they could earn income. And we knew our customers would be slow. We were on and asked our customers and they were all interested in buying labs. All of them thought it was a great idea. As we talked to people who were kind of like on the edge of business, Web 3.0 and Web 2.0, like the sort of more business people who aren't on the ground, they were all floored by the notion of converting from SaaS model to NFT. We were actually kind of shocked. Like, we didn't think we were being that revolutionary to go like, okay, yeah, we have a SaaS model and, most people measure us by MRR. Well, let's throw that out the window. MRR is gone, right? Now, if someone comes to us and says, what's your MRR? We're going to go, hey, we're a Web3 company. That's a Web2 question. And we have no fucking MRR. What we have is people over here who own labs. They have MRR, right? What we have is we have a floor price, right? These guys have MRR. It would just blow their minds, right? Because we've given away, a bunch of that MRR, which people who are listening or watching this are going to be like, what is MRR? You know what? Don't learn what it is. It's an old idea. It's been thrown out.
So with the labs, and you're talking about not having an MRR anymore, assuming you guys sell out the labs, does that mean you need to have a lab to work with you? Or are you guys still going to be offering services on the old Web 2.0 model, I guess we can call it?
yeah, we want to move away from the Web 2.0 model as much as we possibly can in any way we can. We don't want to do a disservice to customers who already have, contracts and we're already working with. I can safely say after the last 2 days, probably not 5 days ago, as of 2 days, I don't know how easy it would be to get our services without a lab, because we can only onboard a certain number of customers at once. And we've got a number of amazing customers that we're really going to focus on making extraordinary, that have invested in labs. And, our ability to onboard new customers isn't infinite in our current model, right? We can onboard a customer a week. So the queue behind the people who have the labs is going to be really long. And so
Right.
if the CEO of Decentraland, finally returns, my communication with them after we, met briefly before, and he's like, oh, wait, yeah, I've seen what you did for Sandbox. What the hell? We need to use what you're doing. Like, our conversation is going to be, yeah, hey, here's what we do. Yeah, you really want to use our services? Yes, you do. Okay, great. Well, we have a 4-month wait list right now for you to use our services, via SaaS model, or you can jump in the line by having the right number of labs and go talk to these guys because they own all the labs, right? It's a very different kind of model. What that does is it drives the value of the labs, because now you've got, some executive, someone from a major company really wanting to deploy software sooner, and it drives the value of our services, and a bunch of that benefit is reaped by the investors. And I feel very, very comfortable with that. There's not really, we don't need big name customers anymore. That's actually what we started out. We're like, you know what? Let's go get big name customers. They matter. Like a couple of our customers, a lot of paperwork, a lot of discussion to onboard them and to get them going, because they're these really big names, right? Because we were like thinking Web 2.0, let's go get big name customers. Not, ironically, we're community technology, but we're invisible, not let's go build our own community. Well, now we don't need to go get big name customers because we're our own big name. People already know who we are. In the Solana space, people now know who we are. You know what? We'll just work in Solana for a while. People know who we are in Solana. Like, we don't need to go out and bang on doors and try to show people our software anymore. People are seeing it in Solana. We have our customer advocates. We have our, mad scientist advocates. We have our lab advocates. Like, we've got all the business we can handle for a while. Now we can focus on building and making a difference in the space and just solving really big problems.
Awesome. No, that's awesome. Really excited for this drop. I can't wait, and can't wait to see what's next. As you said, we've been working together for a while now, and everything you guys have done for us has knocked it out of the park. Very happy to be one of the lab purchasers on our end. I think it's going to be an investment that's going to pay off in spades, just for, like you said, not only services, but marketing side, connections with everyone you guys are connected with. Like, there's so many benefits that it made the decision so easy for us. So yeah, very, very excited for what you guys are building. We're excited you're in the space and you guys made that pivot. I'm sure it wasn't easy for you to sell along with the rest of the team there when you guys were trying to pitch to making such a big change. But I think we're going to see a lot more Web2 companies making that change once they realize the benefits and the shift, because the shift is happening. And we're seeing so many big brands jump into the space, which is just going to explode across the board. So yeah, very, very, very excited. Very appreciative. You could spend some time with us today. It was a nice chat and very educational. I think people are going to learn, to get that insight on what it takes to go from Web 2 to Web 3 and the future. I think this is great. So thank you very much for jumping on.
Thank you. Always a pleasure, Adam.
Awesome. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk soon. Bye.